It's very strange doing this at before 6 o'clock because of the DST overlap wonk that we enjoy. Like,
have you had your time change yet?
Sunday we go.
Okay,
but
this Sunday.
It happens this like 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall. So like here it's like all the embargoes are an hour earlier, and then in the fall it's all the NFL games start an hour earlier. That's how I remember it.
Yeah,
it's good. I prefer it.
All right, let's get going here because it is the 26th of March. Yes, good. All right, let's go. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Friday, March 26th, 2021. Today, we've got some intriguing new HomePod rumors, a bit about the supposed beating heart of the next iPad Pro, and some new news about the iPhone 13, because this is the iMore show. Joining me, as always, is iMore contributor Karen Freeman. Hiya, Karen.
Hello.
Back in the vaguely winterlands of Ohio.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And joining us this week as our special guest, iMore news writer Stephen Warwick. Hey, Stephen.
Hello.
Good to have you on the show. And of course, I'm managing editor of iMore, Joe Keller. Like my predecessor, I often fail to introduce myself.
Do you introduce yourself like that in life?
Yeah, mostly. Just hi, I'm managing editor for iMore, Joe Keller. Nice to meet you. Hi, managing editor. And please use my full name. Managing
we all
editor
just.
for iMore, Joe Keller. Yeah, I'm a tyrant, and I force everybody to call me that whenever they DM me on Slack.
I've just like derailed the show within the first like 30.
No, it's good. It's good. It's a Friday show. It's been a long week. I think we're all maybe a little punchy. It's fine. It's gonna be good. So let's start off this week talking about some news. We've got more discontinuations. Just Apple is on a tear of tearing products to shreds, I guess.
Yep. So it is. Go on.
March murder month for Apple products. We've
you got to tear down before we can build back up.
Right. We got rid of the iMac Pro. We got rid of the original HomePod, and now it's another iMac. Stephen, what is going on here?
Absolutely. So this is the news earlier this week. I want to say it was Monday, or perhaps it was even last Friday, that Apple discontinued. So this is the 21.5-inch iMac, the 2020 model. And there's a couple of, it's not the whole thing, it's a couple of configurations. So the 512 gig and 1 terabyte versions of the 21.5-inch iMac are no longer available. So the only option you have if you want to buy one is, I believe, the 256 or the 1 terabyte Fusion drive, which means the only option you have is the 256 gig, because please don't buy a Fusion drive iMac in 2021. But yeah, the bloodbath continues. Like you said, the iMac Pro is gone, the original HomePod is gone, and now we've got a couple of 21.5-inch iMacs as well.
It's very interesting. So these are starting with the lower end models, or these more mid-range?
These are, it's kind of like across the board, I think is what it is. So you can get the iMac in like multiple different processor configurations and also like RAM specs as well, but they've sort of taken out like the middle echelon of storage options kind of across the board. So you can buy the cheapest iMac still, and you can buy the most expensive one, but you're now much more limited in terms of what configuration that you can get it with. So is it the writing on the wall as far as the iMac's concerned? I mean, given the rumors, we know about what is coming.
A little buying advice, I would say don't buy.
Do not buy an iMac. Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think now is the safest time to say get a MacBook Air or an M1 MacBook Pro.
I think Mini. So, yeah. Right. The MacBook Air was updated with the other ones at the One More Thing event, and I think is the only one that's rumored to not get an update again this year. Everything we know about the MacBook Air, it says 2022. Everything else, like it could be like next week. Not next week, couple of weeks, April. We'll see.
I mean, it could be next week if they do the dribble out, press release style release.
why are you manifesting this into the universe, Kara? Do we have this kind of time? I don't know that we do. But yeah, it's so yeah, the lower end. I would say the Air, the lower end Pro, and the Mac Mini, unless you're waiting on sort of a Mac Mini Pro, which has been rumored, like a few weeks back, that was rumored. Then those lower end machines are what you should get if you're in the Mac buying market. Otherwise, wait, please wait.
Please.
Maybe you'll get a colorful iMac out of it. Who knows? A sky blue iMac.
Wow,
That would be. I would love that. But yeah, I think at least for the smaller iMac, because they haven't discontinued any. I mean, apart from the Pro, they haven't discontinued any 27-inch models, have they?
correct. No.
Yeah. So I think the speculation has been, and this is just maybe me making this up in my brain. Maybe this is my own speculation and not speculation I've heard, but the speculation I think has been that they would replace the 21.5-inch model first with a Apple Silicon M something series Mac. And the rumor I thought was that it was going to be 24 inches. They were going to actually reintroduce a 24-inch iMac, but it would be a smaller one.
There is a rumored size change. Yeah, I've heard the 24-inch size bandied around as well. And that sounds like a really big jump. But when you take into account the expected like redesign, obviously the iMac's got a huge chin, very large bezels. It's been like that for like 10 years. The new one is expected to look basically like the Pro Display XDR with the the much thinner bezels compared to the iMac. So it is expected to be a bigger screen, but a lot of that comes from reduced bezel real estate as opposed to the thing actually getting bigger. Although I do think it will be bigger, but not as bigger as 21 to 24 inches sounds like it would be.
And more like the 10.5-inch iPad Pro going to 11 inches without taking up a much bigger footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It's exciting stuff.
That other bits of news this week, Apple they've launched a new program for it's really geared towards younger people and teenagers that have trouble speaking. Is this right?
Yeah. So somebody who sees a speech language pathologist, I think it's called something slightly different in the UK, but in the US, we say speech language pathologist, somebody who has some kind of speaking disorder. So a lot of the materials that SLPs use are repetitious things like brown bear, what do you see? Like kind of like kitty type things. But when you're working with a client who's not a young child, those kinds of nursery rhymey type exercises can feel very babyish. And so Apple is compiling as a new tool in Apple Music where they've compiled song lyrics that have particular sound combinations that speech language pathologists may need to work with. And so, imagine being a teenager and seeing a speech therapist, and instead of reading brown bear, you're reading, the latest rap lyrics. So, how much more fun is that? So it's a really neat tool. I have a friend who's a speech language pathologist, and my daughter is actually in graduate school now studying to become one, and both of them are really excited about that, and they want to try it out because it's a great tool for older kids, teenagers, adults that they work with. So it's a really, really cool thing that Apple's doing.
Yeah. I think it goes to show Apple, Apple has for a long time had this, I'm not going to say unique focus because I don't want to take away from the efforts other companies like Google and Microsoft put into accessibility, but they have had a notable focus on accessibility. And I think this is just one more step. And I think it's cool that they're using such a marquee service of theirs like Apple Music to do this.
Yeah. Apple doesn't have to do this. It's so cool that they are.
Yeah. I say this a lot, but there is a lot you can be cynical about when it comes to Apple, their App Store policies, maybe how some workers are treated on their assembly lines, that sort of thing. Sure, but they do sometimes use their immense wealth and immense power and influence for good, and this is one of those times, being able to help people that need speech pathology work. They it's good to see.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
Yeah, because it's not always a little kid's thing. Sometimes it's a result of a like a brain injury or a stroke or something like that. So it's just it's great. It's a great tool.
Or maybe it's even something that you didn't work on when you were a child for one reason, no, a small child for one reason.
True.
Or another. And yeah, there can be a lot.
Yeah,
of
it could be that.
stigma. Yeah. So yeah, I was happy to see that happen, and yeah. So moving along a little bit. I want to talk a bit about, we talked last week about the end of the HomePod, but now we might be hearing about the beginning of new HomePods. New, slightly odd HomePods. There was a report out this week from Bloomberg that Apple is working on. Stephen, did you get the impression that it was multiple?
Yeah, new
possible
speakers, plural, with screens and cameras. So I'll read you the report from Mark Gurman. It says, before the discontinuation of the larger HomePods, the company has also been working on an updated version for 2022, but has also been looking at new speakers that have screens and cameras. Now, this kind of sounds like sometimes you hear stuff from Mark Gurman. It's like, hey, this is coming in 6 months or a year. Apple also has this other thing that might never see the light of day, and I think this sort of falls into the latter of those two categories. And so it's multiple from what I can glean from the report, speakers that have so HomePods, I would guess, that have large or larger displays, and also cameras, because I believe there was another story floating about this week about FaceTime code that popped up within the HomePod. So it sounds like Apple is at least thinking about making a play to turn the HomePod, which is, first and foremost, like a good speaker and a kind of a smart home hub, into like a tool more for communication as well, which is, I don't know how I feel about that, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it seems like when the HomePod first came out, they were going after the Sonos type market, and now they've kind of changed gears and they're going towards the Amazon Echo market and that Facebook thing. I don't know what it's called. That I don't know why anybody would buy, but
Portal.
Facebook
They
makes
even
the
call it
thing.
the portal.
The portal. Yeah,
like
that's
something an
thing.
evil sorcerer would make.
Yeah, mirror, mirror on the wall. But it does. Don't you think it sounds like they're switching gears to that sort of device as opposed to like the high end speaker?
Yeah. It's a real shame. You guys said that you spoke about the HomePod last week, and we didn't report on it because I'm not sure how accurate this is, but there was stuff going around on Twitter last week when the HomePod was discontinued. Folk were buying HomePods, looking at the serial number, and the HomePods that they were being shipped were from like the original stock run. That was so like HomePods that Apple made in, was it 2017 when it was released? Like HomePods that were made at launch are still being sold now because Apple just has not, had the demand it wanted, which is a real shame because we have one. I think it's incredible. I saw a great article on 9to5Mac actually about how it's like the most misunderstood Apple product ever. And you go back and look, and Apple was like clear. It was like, look, this is a great speaker that you can also talk to, and if you like it, will do smart home things. And for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out. So yeah. I think
I feel like it's one of those products that that Apple releases that is really high quality product. It's really an excellent product, but they just did not get it into people's hands like they expected to. They couldn't find their market. And Stephen in the comments points out that maybe the change in direction has to do with the past year and people needing that sort of connection with other people.
That's a really great point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, think about one of the when they introduced the HomePod Mini. One of the features that Apple really hyped up was the intercom feature. And sure, that's for really talking to people within your household, but still, it's a major communication feature. I can speak today. That it points in a different direction than the original HomePod, even though the original HomePod did get intercom as well.
Yeah, I just think I never heard anybody say the HomePod wasn't good. The sound was excellent. I mean, it's a great product. It's just I think people didn't really understand why they needed it. or
Mm.
not enough people understood why they needed it. Apple didn't. That's where the failure was.
I think a lot of people thought it was a smart home hub first and foremost. And so we're like, why would I pay $300 for that? When if you compare that to like a similar sized Sonos or another, good sounding speaker that could fill a room that you could host a party with, I think it was incredible value. But yeah, it's not a great omen for the AirPods Max. I don't know how.
Yeah, I honestly, I see
audio will turn out.
I'd see the AirPods Max going the same way, but we'll see.
I think it all for the AirPods Max. I think it all comes down to Apple's expectation. Yeah. Like, I mean, look, they do have trouble keeping them stocked, which I think for a product that high priced points to more limited stock. But Apple does seem to be selling out of the ones that they make, which is different than the HomePod.
Yeah. No, this is true.
Although they probably overestimated how many people would buy the HomePod if these dates, these batch dates are to be believed.
Yeah. I worked at Apple when they released the HomePod, and I don't remember selling more than one or two. Compare that with the AirPods when they first came out. We could never keep them on the shelf, even when they started becoming available, which was many months after they were released. As soon as we would get in a shipment, we'd put them on the shelf, and they'd be gone by the end of the day. Yeah. And this happened day after day after day after day.
It would be like in the store I worked in, it would be like a daily announcement, but like, store, we have X number of AirPods in stock. And then 20 minutes later, it'd be like, we have half of X number of AirPods in stock, because they'd already been kind of, before they even got to the shelf. So, yeah.
Apple did a really good job making sure everybody understood why they needed AirPods.
Yeah, I remember being, this is only four or so years ago, a little over 4 years ago now, that Apple released the first generation of AirPods. And I remember being a bit of a naysayer because they had, the stems sticking out of your ears. And I had, you were
the guy making memes with like people with like electric toothbrush heads stuck in their ears and stuff. You're like, Steven, get a load of this guy.
I don't make memes. That's
I'm trying to picture Joe making a meme.
That would be me like texting my sister. Am I memeing now? Is this meme? Is this meme? And I hold up a printed photo that I printed out of an inkjet printer up to a webcam, and she says, "No, Joe, you're definitely not memeing now." But yeah, I remember being a bit of a naysayer because I had other truly wireless earbuds that I liked, but then Renee was talking about them a lot, and Serenity was talking about them a lot, and members of the team got them finally, because like you said, they flew off shelves and were unavailable for months. And so like 6 months after the fact, I finally got my first pair. I was like, oh man, I love these. Come on, I love these. The pairing, but yeah, the HomePod lacked a similar pull. I think something that's more like an Echo Show and more like the HomePod Mini, the sort of home hub communicator direction. Yeah. I've long hoped that Apple would make a product that was like I think it's now the Nest Home or Nest Hub, that is that screen that's on a little pillar, because I like that sort of idea, that interface, but I don't trust Google or Amazon to have a camera pointed at me. Even though you can't disable them, like you don't really want me to, though, do you?
Yeah. As we broadcast live on YouTube, just
yeah. Hey, everything's a trade-off.
Yeah,
everything's a trade-off. But yeah, I think that's fascinating, wild that just as the OG HomePod fades, new HomePods may be rising. Now, on the point of FaceTime code, what's worth remembering that for this supposed video speaker that people think might be happening, or that Bloomberg at least thinks is in the works, HomePods run Tv Os. Now, Apple made a switch last year, I think around iOS 14, to have HomePods run Tv Os instead of iOS. So less of Apple TV as a as a communication platform, and it points more towards HomePod doing this.
Will you be able to watch Apple TV on a
Yeah.
on a
Oh,
That's
yeah.
but I was just thinking,
Definitely.
like, doesn't that make it a TV?
just a tiny TV.
Karen, anything with a screen is a TV if you dream big enough.
Yeah.
But I mean,
or if you sit close enough. I
what
think
if what if they made them different sizes? Is that a possibility? Like big enough to be like a living room TV set?
You're going back
Ah.
now. The Apple TV set
This is
rumors
where-
from.
I mean, I
Karen,
haven't seen this anywhere. This is just coming out of my own head. But
This is where Karen rips off her mask and reveals that she's been Gene Munster all along,
Yeah.
asking about the Apple TV set. That's a deep cut for me, but yeah, I at some point, Karen, I think you're right. Like, why not just bite the bullet and do a TV set? Especially if these things run apps like iPhone apps or iPad apps. You can get your cable app.
It would be so
tell you
cool. My
TV
TV
operating systems stink. Like they are so. We have a Samsung TV. It looks great, but the OS on there is absolutely dreadful. Like it's crying out as far as I can tell for an Apple TV set that runs like a native TV OS.
I know. I hate my TV, but I can't replace it because I keep thinking in the back of my mind, like, what if Apple came out with one?
Yeah. You don't throw away a TV set after a couple of years. So you're
right.
stuck with it.
Right. So I'm hanging on to my yucky one and hoping that Apple's doing something.
Yeah. Mine's a Roku TV and it's fine, but it every so often it shuts off kind of randomly and I'm not sure why.
Yeah. I don't even know what brand mine is. It's like something you never heard of, but I mean, it works. It's fine. It's just Apple could do so much better.
Yeah. Just Apple, save us. Apple
Yeah.
No. Right. Let's move on a little bit. I want to talk about one more thing. Actually, there was also a bit of news, kind of middle of the week, that I skipped over a little bit, but I did want to touch on is shortcuts. For anybody who, like me, loves shortcuts or relies on third-party shortcuts from other sites, that's I had a bit of a scare this week when the iCloud links for all of them broke just suddenly. They got Thanos snapped out of existence.
Ouch.
You could not go to our friends over at Mac Stories have a massive library of shortcuts, and all of those links stopped working. But Apple is is currently fixing the problem.
Yeah, they said that they know it's happening, and some people have said that their links are starting to work again, but I don't think there's been like an off switch turned back on, but it seems to be on the right track. And you can share new shortcuts. It's just ones that already existed, which will come of no comfort to someone like Mac Stories, as you say.
Yeah. So we really need someone like Mac Stories, or even, in articles I've written in the past, I've included examples. We would really like those old links to start working again, please. So we don't have to redo them. Yes.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to bring that back up because it occurred to me we had skipped over it and I wanted to talk about it. So yeah, that is an issue that is being addressed for those that are wondering. So now moving on to another rumor. This one excites me because I am an iPad lover, and this is about as I say, the beating heart of the iPad, and that is the system on a chip. For the 2021 iPad Pro, it's supposed to be the A14X.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the A14X and what it's supposed to be?
So, I guess Apple is kind of following what it's done previously with a lot of its chips, where you would get like the regular A. So, like you got the A14 in the iPhone and the iPad Air, and then it sort of reserves like the unlocked version of that processor for like the iPad Pro. It's done it with like the A12. I think there was like an A12Z as well as like an A12X. There was definitely a Z. I don't know if there was an X,
Yeah, there
but it
was an
sounds
X.
like history is kind of going to repeat itself again, and we'll get like an A14X, which is not quite the M1 chip, but like it's kind of the M1 chip. It's on par with the M1 chip, but it isn't. It's probably not identical, but similar sorts of speeds, processing times, benchmarks, that sort of thing. So sounds like it's going to be a huge upgrade in terms of performance compared to the previous gen, which is good. So
Yeah, with M1 like performance and the rumor of Thunderbolt, which again we talked about last week, and really excited me. This is shaping up to be at least internally a pretty big update for the iPad.
hmm
Um,
and I think it had to be because the iPad Air, which came out in September,
October announced in
October?
September, and it came out in October.
Was an absolute monster. Like they upped the price, but it came with the A14 that you get in the iPhone, and all of a sudden you had an iPad Air with a processor that was faster than the one in the iPad Pro. And there are other trade-offs, but like they had to make a big jump with iPad Pro to differentiate the Pro from the Air and the regular iPad, because for a long time, good 6 months or so, the iPad Air has been like the only iPad you would really consider buying, as far as I can tell. So
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I think especially if you had a recent iPad Pro, like the 2018 iPad Pro, there was no reason to get the 2020 model just because it was so very similar. Unless you really wanted the double camera and the LiDAR sensor for your iPad. If you're really dedicated to AR applications or developing those AR applications, then it's for you. It's really more of a developer platform.
Mm.
But this sounds like between, is it micro LED? It's micro or mini?
Mini LED.
Mini LED for the
Yep.
for the screen. Thank you.
hmm
At least on the 12.9 inch model, which
Yeah,
let's
we're
not.
not sure about the 11-inch model. There's rumors that both are getting updated, but also rumors that both of them might not get mini LED.
Yeah, the mini LED might be a 12.9 inch exclusive, but between the processor update, possibility of Thunderbolt, this, if you've been hanging on to a 2018 iPad Pro, this sounds like one that might be a decent upgrade for you. And if
Joe,
you've been hanging on to an older one, then definitely yes.
How big of a deal is Thunderbolt? Because I know that the port is the same, isn't it? So it's not.
It's
So-
huge
not-
for Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge for me. Big ups for me. I like I think it's a huge step for connectivity, like things you can connect to a Thunderbolt port, like hubs, for instance. Like I have under this desk that I'm standing at right now, I have a big old Thunderbolt hub that's connected to my Mac, and it's connected to my Mac through one Thunderbolt cable. And through that one Thunderbolt cable are fed an SD card reader, 4 different USB accessories. I've got this USB-C to Lightning cable right here that I use to transfer stuff off my iPhone. It's just
So-
the speed and the throughput is tremendous.
So are you saying that hubs that you could previously only use on Macs, you would be able to use on the iPad Pro?
That's the theory. That would be my theory, and I would imagine, Apple would really, especially now that the iPad Air has been, I mean, it jumped up in price $100. It's taken on the iPad Pro form. It really is more of a mainstream thing. I think Apple could use this opportunity to first increase the starting price of the iPad Pro, first of all, but also reframe it as even more of a pro focused product.
Yeah.
And so they can talk up things like connectivity.
Yeah, because with the hub, then you're talking about like photographers, for example, with the SD card port and everything. Creators in general, it would be a big boon for them.
Yeah.
There's also, and I don't use it, there's also an Ethernet port on this hub. And so if you wanted wired internet on your iPad, in addition to other things, this might now be possible.
Yeah.
We could be looking for a wild spring and summer, especially depending on what Apple gives us in iPadOS 15 at WWDC.
If there's a WWDC, of course.
I certainly assume there's going to be a WWDC. They had a pretty successful one last year.
Yeah. Although we knew when that was, it was like March 13th they announced WWDC last year. Here we are.
I think that was they announced that there would be one. It would just be all virtual, and they didn't announce dates until a little later. All right. So, moving on from iPads and HomePods and all of that, we've got the sort of big kahuna here, the Mac Daddy of them all, to use a phrase from the 90s. The iPhone 13. There's quite a few rumors this week about the iPhone 13. So
many rumors. It's like a lot of rumors in 1 week, considering that we're still 6 months out.
Yeah. And so I want to talk. So first I want to talk about this glass leak.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's a big old leak. Well, we call it a leak, but again, nothing is confirmed until Apple announces it. We want to stress that. And it's something I think some people have learned to the detriment of their own eyebrows. We love you, John. But yeah, so this is what we're talking about here is supposedly the first look at the front glass of the iPhone 13. And so what's really important about this is the notch. So Stephen, why don't you take us through this a little bit?
Yeah, so MacRumors shared photos, like you said, of the glass front. Now, I believe, so we're expecting the iPhone 13 to be kind of the same model lineup as the 12. So three sizes, 4 phones, and we've been hearing a lot that the notch is going to shrink. We didn't know which way. Somebody said it was going to get shorter, so like vertically, like thinner. Other people have said it's going to get narrower. And this latest, we've got pictures from MacRumors, supposedly of, I guess they would be replacement panels for the iPhone 13 glass front. And this kind of seems to confirm, if it's real, that the notch is going to be like narrower horizontally, if that makes sense. So there'll be more space either side of the display, where the battery life indicator is and your cell service indicator, that sort of thing. So yeah, the notch is smaller, and it looks like the what is it? The earpiece? The earpiece speaker has been moved to kind of shrink that down,
like into the bezel almost is where it would be, if this is accurate. I'm looking at this and I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like I'd want it to be shorter instead of narrower. I don't know what narrower necessarily gets us in terms of user experience, but shorter, like it's protruding less into. If it's shorter, it's protruding less into the screen. So if you watch a lot of video on your iPhone, there's less of a notch there now. See,
I disagree, because if it gets shorter the way this says it would, you'd have more space for like the battery life. You could have the number for battery life as well as the picture, like I have, or you could have better, indicators for Wi-Fi or cellular service or whatever. Whereas if you make it, I don't know how much you get out of it, making it shorter the other way. Like you get like a tiny little bit more aspect ratio, possibly, but then I don't know if that would be of more benefit. So
yeah, this is what I pictured when rumors started going about having a smaller notch. This was exactly what I was picturing. I was surprised when people were saying, "Well, what good is it to make the notch smaller that way? I want it to be closer to the top."
Yeah, Joe, come on.
but I agree with Stephen. It just gives you more room for information on the sides. I don't know. I still feel like I want the notch to go away entirely. If having it a little bit smaller doesn't seem like it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, ultimately, I think I'm more with Karen. Like, just leave it as it is until you can get rid of it.
Would you guys take a hole punch? I don't know if we've talked about it. Would you take a hole punch?
Yeah,
we talked a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago.
We have. I don't like the hole punch either. I want it all gone. But I guess if we have to have a hole punch, we have to. But
yeah. I think Karen and I are both rooting for the technology that lets them put every sensor and the camera behind the screen.
Yeah. It's a funny one. It's weird because it was, do you remember the advert back in the day when like the iPhone first had a notch? and I can't remember which.
Samsung. It was Samsung.
Yeah, and the guy's in the queue at the Apple store, and he's got like the haircut where his hairline matches the notch like of the iPhone, and like it became like a like a real point of ridicule. And now it sort of feels like it's like a fundamental part of the design. It's never bothered me, and I don't know. Maybe it'll be one of those where you have to wait to get the device in hand to see how you feel. But yeah, the notch doesn't bother me as much as I think it bothers a lot of other people.
Well, it certainly doesn't bother me as much as it used to. I got used to it pretty quickly.
Over time,
I think Samsung has kind of learned the lesson that what you shouldn't do when you're advertising your product is call people who are intrigued by a competitor's product stupid or sheep. Seems like a marketing fail on that one.
Yeah,
so.
Samsung also got totally burned for mocking Apple for taking the charger out of its iPhone box last year. And here we are.
Yeah. The people make fun of Apple for the things they do, and then they copy the things Apple does. Mm-hmm. Like the internet doesn't exist, and we can't say that. Is this you?
Yeah.
At least Samsung hasn't gone into notch territory. They have the hole punches, but they don't have notches. So, at least good for them on that. So that's the supposed front glass. It's very, very interesting. And obviously there would only be 3 different panels that they use because there are only 3 different sizes of iPhone, even though there are 4 iPhones.
Yep.
Yeah. And from the looks there, they had the mini, the standard size, like the 6.1 size, and the Max.
This to note, the glass in the photos also matches really closely, like kind of schematics that John Prosser shared last year. Now at the time they were shared as in, hey, this is what could be coming to the iPhone 12. Obviously that didn't materialize, but they do match what John had. They're like the proportions are kind of almost identical. I think the earpiece moving as well, that is kind of all there. So this isn't the first thing we've heard about this. It's definitely the kind of the most concrete. We've got glass kind of in the flesh, which you've not seen before. But I am hopeful. This seems like a lock for the next iPhone, which is good. Yeah.
It's progress, I guess.
So we've also got quick note. So we talk about the iPhone 13. So last year, obviously, Apple didn't hold its iPhone event until October, and then 2 of the iPhones didn't release until November. But this year, things look like they're moving on time, as it were, like Apple's more traditional September launch window.
Yeah, this is maybe the 3rd or 4th report we've heard. I know John Prosser said previously. The latest report is from Dan Ives at Wedbush, who says that the iPhone 13th is slated. He was quite specific. He said the 3rd week in September, possibly early October, but that would be because Apple is tweaking the phone, whereas obviously last year it was because of the chaos of 2020. So it sounds like Apple is back to a more regular schedule. The concern I have as a member of the iPhone upgrade program is that I got my iPhone the day it came out and I'm on the program. But if Apple releases the phone in September, like it would have done in a normal year, I will have to wait like a whole month, maybe even, just 1 month before I can upgrade. And I guess there's probably hundreds of people in that situation as well.
I'm sure there are a lot of people in that situation. And
I don't know why I said hundreds. It's probably millions, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say your number's a little low, but
really lowballed myself.
Still technically true. Hundreds of people.
There are hundreds of us. Hundreds of us.
It's just hundreds of hundreds.
Yeah,
maybe even dozens.
So I for one would personally be very upset if the iPhone comes.
But there was another year where that happened, where it came several years ago, where it came out late. And then the following year, it was back to an earlier schedule. I don't remember which phone it was.
The 10.
Yeah, that's right. Because the 10 came out the same year as the 8, but just a couple of months later.
Yeah, it launched in like the end of October or early November.
Right. But I was on the iPhone upgrade program then, and I was able to upgrade to the 11.
Oh, brilliant.
on,
Stephen,
on
did
day
they make
one.
you pay? Stephen in the chat just made a good point that they could just get you to pay the
No, I didn't have to
fee.
pay any
Okay.
extra,
Yeah, and
as
it
I
is a
recall.
strange year. But yeah, that's my only concern is because the iPhone upgrade program is like a pretty staunch. You do your 12 months, then you can have your new phone.
Right,
But obviously,
right.
if the next phone comes out in 11 months since you bought the iPhone, like, what do you do?
I think that they would let you out early
Yeah,
to do
Because
the
they
next.
want you to be on that. They want you to get the new phone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
definitely.
know that people get excited about day one launch,
Mhm.
and that they're going to lose people if they
Yeah,
make them wait an extra month.
yep. But it definitely sounds like the last year was a blip, which I think makes sense.
Well,
Yes,
last year
it
was a
for
blip
everybody. Was for everybody.
Yeah.
in every way.
But so I'm going to go ahead while we're recording this on video in front of all of these people and you two. I'm going to make my prediction for when the event's going to be. So my prediction is that this event is going to happen on September 14th. It's a Tuesday. It's the second Tuesday of the month. Apple doesn't hold their event right after Labor Day. They're not going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that, even if it is virtual, which I assume it will be.
When's Labor Day?
Labor Day is the 6th.
I see.
So, are you going to
So
bet your
between these
eyebrows
two.
on that, Joe?
No, I'm not going to bet anything.
That's what I heard, Karen. Yeah. Lock it in, folks.
I think you'll go back in the recording and find that I did not say anything like that. And Jim, if you do that to me, I will be very mad and won't be able to punish you in any way, but I just know I'll be mad.
It's just Karen asking the question, like, Joe, are you going to shave your eyebrows off? And then silence. And then, like, Siri just goes, yes. And then the podcast just carries on, like, in.
Well, I'm sure Jim could find an instance of Joe saying yes and cut that in.
Yeah.
Why are you
I'll go the 21st just to not be you.
But yeah, if this guy's saying third week in September, that says to me like third full week. So phone's out on the 24th, announced the week earlier on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm going to say Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Software release probably the next day, maybe. But software release on the 22nd, new phones on the 24th, and then we just have a fun fall from there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Did you guys see the colors from Everything Apple Pro that came out overnight?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want them both.
Yep. Yeah, I would happily buy 2 iPhones just so I could own. So yeah, this is it's a report from Everything Apple Pro. Who, if you don't know who he is, it made a video. Like, it makes all sorts of videos about iPhone upcoming stuff. Works a lot with Max Weinbach, who has a great kind of Samsung track record of leaking a lot of things before they happen, and also some Apple stuff as well. But I was looking back when these came out, and like in April 2020. Everything Apple Pro shared like this amazing render of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and Apple it was literally like perfect. And now here we are, like just about a year later, we've got iPhone 13 renders, and so like I'm really excited. And the big news is new colors. So it looks like we're going to get almost certainly like a matte black color, or like a reworked black that is much closer to black than it is like like a graphite black. Like a space gray, and then in the works but less likely is this kind of bronze / copper color, which I think just looks absolutely stunning. Like,
I want it.
Yeah,
my problem with those renders is the black camera module. Like, I don't want a black. I like the camera module that matches the rest of the phone. I don't like it to be
you
black.
Want a colored one. No, I get that, and I think it's important. This is for the Pro lineup as well, and I reckon there's a good chance that, as with iPhone 12, there'll be like a Pro and like a not Pro, and the colors will be different. So for the Pro, I think that, the bronze copper looks stunning. I don't mind the black camera because they have that on the. Let's look at my phone now. Yeah, on the Pro now, the sort of like the raised camera housing does match the rest of the phone.
Yeah.
So maybe they would do that.
They always have. No, they haven't. I mean, no, I shouldn't say they always have, because we've only had a raised camera module for the last couple of models. But yeah, I don't like the look of I don't like that big black square in the middle of a different color, because because I like to get the lighter colors, so I would get the white or the one that looks kind of like beigey champagne. I can't tell if it's like a shiny metallic champagne type color or if it's like an ivory.
Yeah.
But that's sort of where my tastes go. But then that big black camera module, I just feel like it doesn't go.
I would imagine, Karen, that one, I think it's the lighting in the render. So I think that sort of beigey one is actually going to be would be the gold model.
Yeah.
See, I was going to say silver because I thought the bronze/copper would replace the gold.
Silver was the one on the end.
It doesn't look silver. Yeah, the one on the end is like the white, like the one that's usually the white/silver.
Yeah, I gotta say, I would love the matte black model. I am not as big a fan of the shiny stainless steel sides of the Pro phones, and but I also, I do like that third camera, so I wouldn't want necessarily to go back to aluminum to the standard phones because they don't have that third camera. Although there are rumors that they would have LiDAR, so that's interesting. But yeah, I like both of these colors. I think they're both intriguing. Bronze, copper, whatever that ends up being, definitely
absolutely stunning. Like it's
too orange for me.
My favorite iPhone color ever, I think.
I think we definitely have to see exactly what Apple. I want to see the Apple version of this. Not rely on.
Yeah, unless it's like Cleveland brown orange, then maybe we'd have a problem. But
yeah,
Steven,
maybe I would buy it. I'd be more likely to buy that one. I don't know, but
yeah, you would. Yeah, and the blue one looks nice too. Andy mentioned that in the comments.
Yeah, the blue has been amazing.
It looks very similar.
I agree with Stephen though. I think probably the best iPhone color ever, jet black iPhone 7.
Jet black 7. There was it last week where a prototype jet black iPhone 10 emerged, and
absolutely,
like
which is a real shame. Yeah, can't believe that got away, because again, that would have been the one I bought for certain.
But they were so fingerprinty though,
and scratchy. They scratched a lot.
That's actually, it's interesting you say that, Karen, because one of the other things that came out of Everything Apple Pro's video was the rumor that Apple is working on like a better fingerprint resistant kind of coating or material. I think especially for like the stainless steel sides, Joe, that you mentioned, I think they do tend to, especially like the gold color and stuff. I think the gold one has its own like kind of anti-fingerprint material on it just now, because that's like particularly prone.
Yeah.
But Apple is working on something even better for this year, according to the latest rumors. So
one of the things that's interesting out of this particular render rumor drop, other than the colors, so for a while we've heard that maybe Apple would release 1 or 2 models of portless iPhone this year.
Yeah,
but Weinbach and Everything Apple Pro said that's not happening.
Yeah, explicitly no portless models. We've always sort of heard kind of lightning or bust. John Prosser's, kind of repeatedly said it'll be lightning on the iPhone until there are no ports. And then John came out last year. It was quite early last year. I want to say like maybe April, and said there's one portless iPhone next year. So this year now. And then he sort of doubled down on that kind of later in the year. And we hadn't heard much or anything to the contrary, actually. This is the first leaker to be like, there's no portless iPhone, which is a shame. But equally, I don't know if it's a shame, because it has to. There's a lot of stuff that Apple would have to overcome to have a portless iPhone, and I would like to make sure that is done before they roll it out. For me, it was more sort of strange that it was always like, hey, there's going to be one portless iPhone model. And you'd be like, which one of the 4, the mini, the 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, would you get rid of the port from?
That's a weird one.
And why would you do that? And why would you leave the port from? It's such a big change. I can't.
Yeah, there has to be the problem is with having it portless, there has to be another way to charge it besides the back of the phone, because not everybody uses a thin case or a case without anything on the back. Because as soon as you get like a loop or a grip or something on the back, then what? You can't charge your phone anymore unless you take the case off. It doesn't make any sense.
Of
So there has to
course.
be some kind of like MagSafe divot or something if there's
Like
not
a
a
smart
port.
connector. There's been a lot of rumors about
Yeah.
that. Kind of the same thing you get in the iPad to hook up the keyboard case and stuff.
Of course, I think
Yeah.
Apple's
Something like that.
counterpoint to this would be, does it really though need another way to charge than the back of the phone? Because I think they just wouldn't care. That's
Well, I would like to have another way
oh
to
yeah,
charge.
no, I agree with you that I would love to have multiple methods of charging where possible, but
See, equally to counter my own point, I can now see why Apple would choose to release a portless iPhone and keep keep
Yeah.
a not portless iPhone in the lineup so that people have a choice. Because you know, CarPlay is a huge, and whenever I talk about portless iPhone, I always see people be like, "What about CarPlay?" Because a car is not like a smart speaker or an adapter that you'd replace like on the fly. That's a
Right.
it's
People
a 10-year
keep
investment
cars
for some people. Exactly,
yeah.
it's a long time. So obviously there are adapters and things you can
Yeah.
get, but
You'd have to get a dongle for your car.
yeah,
yeah, there are cars with wireless CarPlay, but they're still not as plentiful as wired.
No.
They're often that is, I'm looking at cars right now actually, and I see that wireless CarPlay is on step up models, which are however many thousands of dollars more
yeah,
than the standard version. So it's just
Right. And then once you buy a
That's
car,
a
you're
lot.
not going to buy another one so that you can plug your new phone into
No.
it or not
Yeah.
plug your new phone into it,
Yeah, none of us are Steve Jobs, who routinely replaced his car. Yeah, that would be. I feel like it would come to the Max. Like of all of the iPhones, you pick the most expensive one. Maybe the one that would be in
Yeah.
the hands of more people that did have access to wireless CarPlay. First of all, I
It
feel like
it doesn't make sense to me to just put it in one. Maybe they mean
Yeah.
just the Pro models. Just to have it just in the Pro Max
Yeah.
is weird.
and that's
But
what
the
I've
Max
been
is
thinking.
Joe, I think that's a good point about the Max, because what you wouldn't want is it to be like the cheapest model, because then
Yeah.
people would be like, oh, well, if I want an iPhone like with a charging port, like I have to spend more money. Like that's that seems like an own goal on Apple's part. So more expensive makes sense. Who knows?
Yeah. If it is only one, it would have to be the Pro Max, I think.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get John to put his eyebrows on the line for this.
What's
Or like his whole head, something. I'll tweet him right now. I'll see what he says.
What's kind of interesting to me in this whole iPhone 12 cycle is the 12 Pro, the 6.1 inch model, seems to be particularly popular, maybe even more so than the 12 itself, at least in terms of what people are interested in, maybe not necessarily what they ultimately go with. So I think if they just did the Max, it would be weird. It would be strange, but it would differentiate the lines, and also it wouldn't disrupt that sort of what I might call the mainstream aspirational iPhone, which would be the 13 Pro in this case, or 12S Pro, or whatever.
Or maybe it would be like like the iPhone 10 was like a completely like out of the blue, like a one more thing iPhone. I guess it'd be like a fifth iPhone, like a
the portless the iPhone. It's X again, but it's actually but this time it's actually X and not 10, and X is for experimental.
Oh my gosh,
it's an X, and they put it, and it's like on the font, it's bigger than iPhone. Their design team has just gone completely out the window. They don't care about fonts anymore, which that's how you know the soul of Apple is lost, is when they don't care about fonts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just have an experimental. There's no notch. Everything's under the display. The fingerprint sensor is on the whole screen. Just and it folds. No purpose. It just does. It folds. No, it doesn't fold. It crumples like paper.
Yeah, I have not heard any folding rumors recently.
No, they've sort of died down a bit, which is nice. Stupid idea.
It's not a stupid idea.
Give me strength, Apple. Come on. Fold it off.
Maybe Apple has decided not to do a folding phone because of you, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm more power to them. That's what I say.
Yeah, I'll say. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Make it as thin as Westworld, and then we'll talk. Make it thin and cool like Westworld. But until then, I'm not really that interested in folding.
I'm still waiting for a computer like Minority Report. You know, where it's like,
with the gloves.
yeah, with like, it was like all, it's like glass. You can like see through it,
you
and you
see
just
through it.
kind of like swipe around on the screen and move stuff
Yeah,
around.
get those little star point gloves that have the lights on them. And
Hey, Apple did actually patent like gloves or like a Mac that can be controlled with like hand movements, like literally this week. It's not yeah,
of course
you
they
never
did.
know.
Of course they did. I mean,
Like a Tony Stark kind of thing. That's what I want.
I want what I want is a Jarvis like thing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
next
that
to me,
Jarvis
that's
replaces Siri.
yeah, run my entire home, Siri. That's what I want.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming down to the end of it. I think we're gonna call it a little earlier than usual. But yeah, it was a good show, everybody. Lots to talk about, lots to ruminate on over the next week. We are hoping for an Apple event sometime in the next month or so, maybe.
Yep. Could be an announcement as soon as Tuesday. If it is April, we'll see what happens.
Why do you try to curse me like this, Stephen? Why?
Yeah.
What did I do to you?
Hey, the joke's on you. I'm on vacation on April 6th, so
Yeah, that's true.
that sounds like a you problem.
Oh man, why do I approve these things? All right. I want to say thanks to everybody who showed up to listen and watch live and who joined us in the comments. That's always very fun. Was very engaged. Love to see it. Thanks to everybody who's going to listen to us later on their podcatcher of choice. Of course, thanks to the wonderful Jim Metzendorf, who will make us sound lovely and not post incriminating sound bites of me in this week's episode, Jim. And yeah, so thanks, of course, to Stephen for guesting on the show.
My pleasure.
Sharon, it's always great to co-host with you.
You too.
And that has been the iMore show for this week. We'll see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.